Hey.
Hey.
Hang on. I drop my earpieces in a pile every time, and I have to go dig them.
So yeah. Oh, the earpiece, yeah.
Okay, so here it is, Steve.
Yep. All right. Do you want to talk?
I think it's fascinating to think that these ABC News guys are so deadly intent on painting sovereign citizens black that they would take a frame-up murder that's never been investigated of Joe and Jerry Kane by a SWAT team. There's no investigation into whether and to what extent they participated in this thing. There's an obvious doctoring of the videos from the dashboard cameras, and they haven't released the full audio from the other car's dash cam. And there's no explanation as to why the cop had numbers in ballpoint written on his hand from Arizona license and a green card from some obvious, alien. And there's no explanation as to the various calibers of bullets and spent shell casings that couldn't have come from Joe and Jerry Kane's weapons or the cops' weapons, nor for the multiple kinds of bullets that were found in the bodies of these guys, nor the fact that there were so many of them, nor from the discrepancies between the police reports and the autopsy reports.
So, I'm assuming that we're going to have this as an online interview. So
definitely needs to be, but what we need to do is to do a story on it and simply include Donna Lee's testimony and her comments and show links to her various websites and the various videos that have been taken describing the scene, and then talk about all the multiple discrepancies. We need to make it more credible than her own report.
Whatever information that she has, I can put up. For somebody who doesn't know any of the story at all, could you bring somebody up to speed that doesn't know anything at all? What state, where, and...
Sure. Well, we do is we say Joe and Jerry Kane. Jerry Kane was a political activist, a legal activist, who was teaching people how to get out of debt and how to deal with credit card debt collectors and how to deal with mortgage foreclosure and how to defend against it. So he conducted seminars in various places. He had gone with his 16-year-old son and their dog in their minivan, and they had a .38 pistol and an AK-47 that they carried with them in the vehicle. And they'd gone to the seminar. They were on their way home, and a friend of mine told me that he was the last person to talk to Jerry Kane alive, because he had spoken with him around about the time just before he was murdered, and Jerry Kane didn't seem at all excited or upset about anything, and he was simply tired from his trip and anxious to get home. He was coming home to Clearwater, Florida. He stopped at a Walmart parking lot in West Memphis, Arkansas, and there the cops accosted him, smashed his vehicle as he tried to get away from them, and they murdered him and his son in the car. So that's the official story, is that the reason they did this is because an hour and a half earlier, or 2 hours earlier, 90 minutes earlier, a mile and a half away on exit 275 of Interstate Highway 41 at West Memphis, Arkansas exit, heading toward Clearwater area, toward Florida.
Yep.
Some cops had pulled over a white van with an orange roof that was occupied by Hispanic-looking, dark-skinned men, 3 of them at least, and that they had, that according to the report by a FedEx driver and other eyewitnesses who called in to say what they saw happening. The vehicle had an orange roof. It was a white minivan, and 3 Hispanic men were murdering these cops with automatic weapons. They found 18 holes in one cop's body and a variety of holes in the other cop's body. And one cop pulled him over, called for backup. Backup cop came along, and the Hispanic guys murdered all of them and then drove off. But what happened was it took nearly 2 months to get the dash cam videos from the cops. And the dash cam videos from the first vehicle, you could hear some audio, but it wasn't very good, and the resolution for both of them was terrible. You couldn't even read the license plate on the vehicle right in front of the car. What that means is these are definitely doctored videos, because they don't put such dash cams in the cop cars. They have high resolution now. These were lower resolution. You'll see what the resolution is when you look at it. And what happened? What happened was the 2 cops ended up getting murdered, and the car got away. But the point is, it's a case of mistaken identity, and it's probably intentional. And it could have been that there were somebody, the FBI or somebody else, were surveilling or had put a GPS device inside or underneath or attached to the vehicle of Joe and Jerry Kane to track their movements. You just don't know what all was going on. But the question is, so how did the West Memphis cops, the SWAT team, manage to locate and descend upon Joe and Jerry Kane in that Walmart parking lot, and how could it have been just so coincidental? So there are questions on both sides of this issue, that these guys happened to be there at roughly the same time the cops got murdered and so forth. But nevertheless, there are sufficient discrepancies in the reports, such as the autopsy report that talked about the different calibers of bullets that were used and so forth, and the angles of the bullets and where they got shot from, and the fact is it just doesn't line up with the police report. So, point is, there's obvious doctoring of evidence, and there's obvious lying going on by the cops. There's no motivation for a FedEx driver to lie about seeing a white man with an orange roof and 3 Hispanic men murdering cops with automatic weapons. There was no report from ballistics with respect to the Joe and Jerry Kane weapons to say whether, number one, they were even fired that day, or number two, whether there was any evidence of spent casings inside their vehicle, that even if the cops came after them, they probably didn't try to shoot him. But what happened, they were just all machine gunned down on the spot by the cops. So, you know, this is a bad story, but what the Anti-Defamation League and the Southern Poverty Law Center do is they have denominated Joe and Jerry Kane as murderers, and the cop, the chief of police, whose son and nephew were these 2 cops that got murdered, he's just now announced he's retiring from the police department, or he announced his retirement about the time Donna Lee went public with the discrepancies in the videos. And so now this cop is going around the country on grant money, instructing the law enforcers about the sovereign citizens. This is utter defamation. That's what this is all about. They connected Joe and Jerry Kane to sovereign citizens, which they were not. They weren't part of any sovereign citizen movement. Well, they were simply, you know, the man was a lecturer and his son was 16 years old tagging along with it.
I saw the ABC smear job as far as what the footage they had, and they cut it to make it look like a bunch of crazies are, you know, have guns, and that's not you know, when I have 2 hours of the actual footage, and they just cut it to make it look the way they wanted to skew the message. I'd like to know how long a time between the shootout with the police, the Hispanics, and then the amount of time that the SWAT team was involved in killing.
90 minutes.
So a SWAT team assembled itself in 90 minutes and was out there on the scene?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I don't know how long it took for more cops to arrive on the scene after the shootout, But one cop was lying dead in the street. Potter, the chief's son, who had arrived as backup, lying outside his door of his vehicle, and the other cop was lying in the ditch.
All right. Sovereign citizens, some people think that they don't have license plates, they're, gun-toting, whatever else. I believe that people should have constitutional rights. And down south, there's more people that would have guns. It's more acceptable in, say, a state like Massachusetts. But I'm not in Massachusetts right now, by the way. But people have a right to their rights. And why do you think the police were after these particular individuals? Are they hurting banks' bottom line? Why do you think?
Which individuals? Sovereign citizens?
The two individuals that were shot.
Joe and Jerry Kane.
Joe and Jerry Kane.
I don't really know. I mean, first of all, if you look at the vehicle that drove away, it had a license plate on it.
Yeah.
But the vehicle but the cops said they removed the license plate, that the Turks removed the license plate on the scene of the cop shooting.
Yeah.
But you could see it driving away with a license plate on it. But the vehicle that Joe and Jerry Kane drove in the parking lot did not have a license plate on it. Joe had a blue shirt on, or a red shirt on when the image of him showed up outside the door, and it was not very clear. Like I said, low resolution. He got out of the passenger door, and pulled out a rifle and started shooting something that was off camera you couldn't see. And Joe Kane was murdered with a blue shirt on, so he had a red shirt, then 90 minutes later he has a blue shirt on when they murdered him in the Walmart parking lot. It could have been they went to Walmart. If they actually did this, they went to Walmart, pulled the license plate off their car, and bought some new clothes, which would explain why they're in Walmart. But there are plenty of other explanations for that, too. That would be the story the cops would tell. They shot the cops, and then they went to Walmart and changed their clothes and took the license plate off, and here comes the SWAT team and blows them away. Well, unless they were brandishing weapons at the SWAT team, there's no reason for them to get shot. So, and they're not that stupid. Jerry Kane is a very knowledgeable man. He wouldn't have done that. It's out of character to think he would have pulled out a gun and started shooting them. These guys just swooped down on him and murdered him. And they had the wrong vehicle. That's why they had to doctor the video. So they reenacted the whole thing, because it definitely was, in the dash cam videos, it looked like Joe and Jerry Kane's car with a license plate on it. And it also looked like it didn't have an orange roof. So, and the two figures who did this thing resembled Joe and Jerry Kane, except Jerry Kane was a husky man, but he didn't have a gigantic beer belly like the guy in the picture. So, anyway, here you see some of the discrepancies. Why would they do this? Well, I don't really know all the details of why, but it could have been that the Hispanics were part of this. They had gotten guns from the Gun Runner or the Fast and Furious programs by Eric Holder, and so the cops were among the first victims of those weapons. That the Attorney General had given to these people.
And that would be the general area for that, okay?
That's a good reason to suppress the story and to change it and make Joe and Jerry Kane look like heartless murderers who kill the cops for no reason on the highway. It's absolutely insane behavior. And Jerry was a mature man, and his son was only 16. This is not the activity of somebody who's crazy.
Were they driving around without license plates? Did they not have a license plate when they were driving to Walmart?
Well, no. When the vehicle and the dash cam left the scene, it had a license plate on it. But the vehicle in the Walmart parking lot didn't.
All right. Were they known to drive around without license plates on their cars?
No.
Okay.
That would be like making a target on them. They're not idiots. They don't do that.
So,
This is the main point.
yeah.
You see it with no license plate on it. What is the press, the media, going to make of it? These are sovereign citizens who don't think they ought to have licenses. See, it's just a frame up. And our main point here is, let me give you the real story. Okay? The real story is this: I am one of many people who study law and try to explain it and help people with legal issues.
Yep.
I don't practice law, but at the same time, I try to give people guidance, and I typically listen to their stories and explain stuff to them and then send them to a practitioner. If there's any law involved, I show them the law. I look up, I point them, I give them a reference to statutes and rules and so forth. So what I have been encouraging people to do is to stand up against crookedness in government, and not to be anti-government, to stand up against crooked people in government and to excise the crime and the criminal, to come out of government, to report them to their superiors, to file lawsuits against them, to have them investigated, and, do your civic duty. It's up to us to do this. You can't just wait for somebody else to spot their criminal behavior and do something about it. That's why I have said, whoever is closest to the snake, grab a stick and hit it. It's a figure of speech that means take local, immediate responsibility for the illegal behavior you see of people in government. And don't commit illegal acts. Obey the law, do the right things, keep yourself out of harm's way. Well, you don't keep yourself out of harm's way when you go after police or other people in government with weapons, intending to kill them. That's what you do as a last resort when you've tried everything else and nothing else works.
Yeah.
Well, it's really an indictment for people to start suggesting in the news media that there are a lot of people in America who are ready to do this is an indictment of our systems of justice and of reporting. Because what happens is people only do this stuff when they come to the hardcore conclusion there is no other choice. What leads people to believe this? It's crookedness in courts. It is, public policy that amounts to nothing more than treason against the Constitution and definitely treason against the people. When you see the Internal Revenue Service wrongly enforcing revenue laws that are never intended to be applied to individual people throughout America, but if anything, to non-resident aliens. And you see there's a system of crime in government that has become worse than the mafia. Well, you've got a lot of people running around the country saying, oh, no, everybody's, what, are you trying to say you shouldn't have to pay taxes? No, we're not saying that. We're saying system of taxation has to be implemented lawfully, and the present system is not. And there are arguments for this that are crystal clear in the Constitution, that the Supreme Court has ruled numerous times in numerous ways that the Constitution was not apply income tax to ordinary everyday people working for a living. It should not be taxing those kinds of people. And if there is an implementation of it such that it does tax those kind of people, it's wrong. And you've got to stand up for it, and you can't do it without studying the law, learning what happened. But because of this, there's another thing that goes on. When people go to court to try to get justice and get murdered instead, as happened to Nancy Ferguson. Nancy Ferguson was a public defender working for the Department of Justice who defended Marcel Boyd Ben Shadler, who got convicted about a year and a half, 2 years ago, for some IRS-related crime along with 3 other guys.
What courthouse?
That happens. His public defender stood up and said, hey, there's something wrong. There's somebody got to the jury. This is absolutely wrong. There's no evidence for this. That night, around in the wee hours of the morning, in her pajamas, sitting at the keyboard of her laptop, she was strangled from behind by an unknown assailant. That crime's never been solved. And as far as I know, there's never been an attempt to solve it.
What?
Well, that's Nelson, just like the DOJ and IRS had conspired to have her murdered.
What courthouse and what was her name and where did she live?
Portland, Oregon. Nancy Ferguson. Bergeson.
Was she the 73-year-old at the?
Nope.
Okay.
She was a young woman in her, I guess, 49-year-old woman. A Department of Justice public defender.
Okay, because there's some similar stories like that out that way.
Well, you can talk to Marcel Roy mentioned that. I did have a radio show for a while. I don't know if he still does, but just Google it. Marcel Roy, Bendshadler. That's in Oregon. You can Skype him.
Okay.
AC, no. Hang on a second. I'll tell you the spot. Hang on. Skype.
Okay. And did you want to talk to Donna Lee too?
Well, we can.
You want me to overdub?
Roy and Beth, he's online like now. Go to Roy. Hang on a second. Roy is in the house. I don't know his. Okay. KC7AQK. No, that's not him. Anyway, I've got Roy Bendshadler. I can just simply write him a letter.
All right. Maybe I'll talk to him in the future. Okay.
Okay, I'll put that in there. So I'll send him a message. What is your Skype address?
My Skype address is STEVE, all small, dash,
Yeah.
and Erickson is ERICKSON.
Okay, so hang on a second. What's your email address?
Erickson, ERICKSON, _
Yep.
77 at hotmail.com.
What was that other one, that little 4-letter one you had the other day?
It's TRVL at hotmail.com. You can use that one.
He said he's going to call me in a minute, so we might three-way him.
Okay.
He was online. Marcel is a cool guy. He's like he's got a constitutional law background, and he is a stage actor.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he has a pretty good acting disposition. Anyway, okay, Steve, so let's go on with what's next.
Okay. Did you want to talk to Donna Lee, or did you want to continue talking about the story? That's you have a better grasp of the story than I do. I'm just starting.
Well, I don't need to continue talking about the story. I simply gave you the gist of it.
Okay.
And the idea of the story should be interview. First of all, introduce the story, point to some of the videos, interview Donna Lee, and ask her what she thinks about them, and then ask her what she thinks is wrong. And then you take the proofs that she suggests, the autopsy report, the crime scene report, and whatever else that she may have her hands on, and name the names of the police chief that he's involved in a frame-up and a cover-up, that he deceived and he lied to the people. He's running around the country telling cops how bad sovereign citizens are when the real bad ones is Eric Holder, the Fast and Furious gun-running program, and the crooked cops. That who knows whether his son and the other deputy who got the sheriff, police who got shot were involved in some criminal activities. These guys may have rubbed them out. Maybe they had scheduled a clandestine meeting on the side of the highway. Not too likely. But there are all kinds of unanswered questions. What motive would these Hispanics have to shoot these guys? I can tell you that if they're illegal aliens, that's a real good motive.
Or if they're running guns for the government, then they're, or if they're just running guns, then there you go.
They may have been running guns for the government. If the government gave them the weapons or made it easy for them to get, what's that telling you? These guys are involved in drugs and murder. So that could implicate the whole Department of Justice. So I mean, this could be a terrible story, and I think what we should do is make a series of stories implicating people, naming names, and encourage people to file lawsuits against these bastards who got injured by them. I think that the idea is. Hey, check this out. Hang on, I'm going to answer this as Roy.
Okay.
Hello, Roy.
Hey there.